Naruto, copy everything from the Uzumaki Clan, episode 131, they wouldn't be scared, would they? Kushina looked at the vigilant retreating Iwa Shinobu, and couldn't help but say to Hashiha and Mikoto on the side. It should be, this Iwa Shinobu is also too shameful. Xingyu pouted, only a few ninjutsu were used, and they were scared. If they were to show their complete body Susanoo, I don't know if they would be scared. They don't attack, we take the initiative. Hoshiyu took out the Kusanagi sword and used the teleportation technique to quickly approach Iwa Shinobu, and in a few breaths came to the Iwa Shinobu's crowd. It's too arrogant, kill him for me. A rock ninja Murakami Shinobu saw Xingyu killing so arrogantly, and angrily rushed towards Xingyu. Wind slash. With the wind attribute chakra, Xingyu strengthened the edge of the Kusanagi sword, and then slashed down at the shaman who rushed over. Fast, ruthless, steady. A sword directly resulted in the life of the other party, and a wind blade flew out from the Kusanagi sword, harvesting Iwa Shinobu's life. Xingyu, who was holding the Kusanagi sword, really turned into the god of death on the battlefield, and faced all the enemies of Xingyu. He could not survive a move. In front of Xingyu, whether it is lower patience, middle patience, or upper patience, they are all treated equally. Anyway, they are all the same weak, the same slash to death. Inoki looked at the star feathers who killed all sides, and he vomited a mouthful of blood again in a fit of anger, almost unable to suffocate in one breath. Sachikage-sama, are you alright? Seeing Inoki spitting out a mouthful of blood, Lus quickly asked Inoki that Inoki was his father, and no matter what, Lus didn't want to see his father in trouble. Ahem, I'm okay. Inoki couldn't help but cough a few times. He had been kicked by Uzumaki Xingyu before, and he felt that 2 ribs were broken, but this kind of injury Inoki could endure. After all, Inoki is still in the prime of life, and he is not the little old man of the Earth's shadow in the future. Lus, you don't want to go over. Inoki said towards the Lus. Inoki also has his own selfishness. Lus is his son, and Inoki does not want Lus to be in danger. Looking at Vortex Star Feather's unparalleled appearance of mowing grass, although his son's talent is good and his strength is quite strong, he is still just sending vegetables in the face of Vortex Star Feather. Inoki kept observing and clearly saw that an elite shinobu of the Iwa Shinobi village only insisted on 2 swords under the sword of Uzumaki Star Feather. I don't know why Vortex Star Feather's strength is so perverted, but he absolutely does not tolerate his son to die. After all, he only has this one son. Sachikage-sama, as a ninja of Iwa Shinobi village, I will definitely not tolerate someone killing my companion. Lus said firmly. Shut up, listen to me and everything. Let Iwa Shinobu, who besieged the Vortex Star Feather, retreat, and hand it over to me and Lao Zi. Inoki roared angrily. Inoki is very majestic, and Lus can only promise in front of himself, the father of the Earth's shadow. Father, your injuries? Lus looked worried. Forgot what I taught you. Call me Sachikage-sama outside, my injuries are not in the way. You quickly organize the retreat of the ninjas of our Iwa Shinobi village. Inoki scolded the Lus again, this time making the Lus dare not speak. Inoki looked at the Lus and sighed, although his son's talent is good, it seems that it is difficult to be a big task. Lus obeyed Inoki's orders and commanded Iwa Shinobu to retreat, and Iwa Shinobu was also killed by Hoshiyu, and heard that Lus told them to retreat, and quickly withdrew. The surroundings of Xingyu had been emptied, and at his feet, dozens of corpses had fallen, and the blood had gathered into a stream. Vortex Star Feather. Inoki roared, staring at Xingyu's eyes full of blood. Since the Uzumaki Xingyu attack, there have been more than 100 ninjas who have died before and after. But how long has it been since the Vortex Star Feather attack? In just 10 minutes, this was already a big loss for Iwa Shinobu. Moreover, the upper ninja who died in the hands of Xingyu, as well as the elite upper ninja, and the upper ninja and the elite upper ninja, which are all elites that are difficult to cultivate with resources. Why are you yelling so loud? It's not that I can't hear it. Xingyu turned his head to look at Inoki, and beside Inoki stood a person. This person was the 4-tailed man Lao Zi. Lao Zi's personality is relatively stubborn, and Inoki's personality is quite discordant. In fact, both of them are stubborn guys, and when 2 old stubborns meet together, they will naturally not be harmonious. But now the Ninja World War, for the sake of Iwa Shinobi village, Lao Zi temporarily compromised with Inoki and obeyed Inoki's. The art of dust escape origin stripping. Under the anger, Inoki uses the escape trick of the spectator, which is a blood succession elimination that is above the blood succession limit, and it is a fusion of the 3 nature changes of wind, earth, and fire. This is a technique developed by the 2nd generation Metakage, which was finally taught to Inoki, and has the power to separate any object into an atomic state and disappear into ashes. It is undeniable that the dust is indeed very powerful, but such a powerful ninjutsu, the consumption of chakra is also very terrifying. Inoki, the Earth Shadow used, felt that the chakra in his body was empty, and suddenly used 1/3 of his chakra. The cube enchantment is launched from Inoki's hand towards the star feather, and as long as it is wrapped in the enchantment, it will be broken into atoms. This attack ignores defense, and even if 3 generations of Thunder Shadow come to escape one after another, they will be beaten into atoms. Heavenly Destiny. Star Feather's eyes turned into eternal kaleidoscope chakra eyes, and then cast the pupil technique of his right eye, and time went backwards, retreating towards the cube enchantment that Star Feather flew over, and then disappeared. The dust escape origin stripping technique regressed to a time when it had not yet been released, but the chakra consumed by Inoki was not returned. When Xingyu cast the Heavenly Imperial Destiny, the object of his effect was only the dust escape origin realm stripping technique, and it did not shroud Inoki as well. Theoretically, the dust escape origin realm stripping technique has regressed to before it was released, so the chakra consumed by Inoki naturally does not exist. However, when it comes to the problem of time, it will be very complicated, and the problem of time is not understood by Xingyu for the time being. Anyway, if Xingyu uses the ninjutsu released by the other party if the Heavenly Imperial Destiny is reversed, then the chakra consumed by the other party's release of ninjutsu will not be returned because the ninjutsu time regresses to before the release, and the consumed is really consumed. As for the reason, Xingyu couldn't understand it for the time being. At this time, Inoki's eyes widened, and the dust released suddenly disappeared, and his dust did not cause any effect, and Inoki was a little doubtful that there was something wrong with his dust. Inoki, your dust has no effect. Hashiha smiled and looked at Inoki. He liked to see the confused expressions on others' faces. Did you do it? Inoki's face sank. He firmly believed that there would be absolutely no mistake in his dust, and the only possibility was the ghost of Uzumaki Star Feather. Under my eyes, no ninjutsu will have the slightest effect on me. Xingyu said lightly, and pretended to force Inoki. Episode 132. Inoki stared at Hoshiyu's eternal kaleidoscope chakra eyes, and his already ugly face became even more ugly. Kaleidoscope Sharingan. Inoki said through gritted teeth. For the kaleidoscope Sharingan, Inoki has always been a bit of a psychological shadow, and Inoki, who was once young, followed Motoha, who had not yet become a second-generation Medikage, to conduct diplomacy with Konoha, and wanted to form an alliance with Konoha. However, he was unlucky enough to meet Uchiha Ban, and after being humiliated by Uchiha Ban, he severely damaged their master and apprentice. Hoshiyu looked at Inoki and did not explain what kaleidoscope riding wheel eyes and eternal kaleidoscope riding wheel eyes are. It seems that there is no need to explain to the enemy. Inoki, do you remember the fear that was once dominated by these eyes? Hashiha asked Inoki with a smile on his face, deliberately unlocking Inoki's scars. Inoki's eyes were a little shocked, his gaze squinted, and he did not dare to look into Xingyu's eyes head-on. Yo, the dignified Earth Shadow was actually so frightened that he didn't even dare to look at me. When Inoki heard Xingyu's words, he angrily wanted to scold, who doesn't know that the magic of riding wheel eyes is powerful, and a fool will look at you. Inoki, you can't be a psychological shadow because you were once abused by Uchiha, right? Hashiha asked towards Inoki. How would you know? Inoki was a little shocked in his heart, but not many people knew about being abused by Uchiha. At that time even he was only a teenager, and Vortex Star Feather had not yet been born. How could he know? This is not important, the important thing is that sneak attacks are not a good habit. Xingyu glanced back, and then kicked the old purple who wanted to sneak up on him and flew out. While he was talking to Inoki, he wanted to sneak up on him, maybe he thought too much, but Xingyu kept paying attention to everything around him. I thought you didn't find Xingyu. Kushina and Mikoto ran over, and they were also relieved to see Laozi being kicked away. Just now, they noticed that the old purple ghost was sneakily wanting to sneak attack, and immediately rushed over, and wanted to remind Xingyu loudly. But before they could make a sound, Xingyu kicked Laozi to reassure them. Kushina and Mikoto, have you forgotten that I have Kagura Hard Eye and it is impossible to sneak up on me? At this time, after Inoki saw Kushina and Mikoto, his eyes lit up slightly. Uzumaki Hashiyu's strength is strong, and he can think of his companions. The art of Tudu Rock Fist. Inoki did not use the strongest dust escape, because the reason why the dust escape lost its effect just now made Inoki a little hesitant. The chakra consumed by dust is very large, and I don't know by what means it was dissolved by the Vortex Star Feather, and Inoki is not ready to use it. This time, Inoki's target was not Hashiyu, but Kushina. Kushina looked at Inoki, who rushed over quickly, with an eager expression on his face. However, Xingyu stopped Kushina, and it was clear that Kushina wanted to fight with Inoki, but the current Kushina and Inoki are definitely not opponents. Especially the current Kushina has long been unable to maintain the immortal mode. If it is in the immortal mode, he can still play with Inoki, but out of the immortal mode, Kushina cannot play with the peak of the shadow level Inoki. Illusion Moon Reading. In an instant, Inoki fell to the ground, although it was only a moment in reality, but a full 3 days were experienced in the illusion space. After a move of illusion put down Inoki, Xingyu's gaze looked at the four-tailed man pillar force Laozi, and at this time, Laozi's body was shrouded in lava, forming a lava armor. Laozi has the blood succession limit melting pattern, and now uses the melting chakra mode, which is somewhat similar to the thunder chakra mode. Wrapped in hot lava, it can melt anything it touches, which is actually very difficult. As a four-tailed human pillar force, Laozi is also quite capable, but it is not tricky for Xingyu. That old man of the earth's shadow was put down by you, can this guy be handed over to me to solve it? Jiao Xinai asked towards Xingyu. It's not that I don't want you to make a move, but you can't beat Jiao Xinai. Xingyu said rather helplessly. Jiao Xinai has to do what he can, this guy in front of you, you are not an opponent at a glance. Mikoto said to Kushina. Okay. Jiao Xinai gave up quite unwillingly. The art of ice prison. Xingyu cast an ice escape, and then locked the four-tailed human pillar force Laozi into the ice prison. Even with the melting of the old purple, it could not melt the ice prison in a short time. Let's go and destroy Iwa Shinobu's supplies first. Ignoring a fallen Inoki and a four-tailed human pillar force trapped in the ice, Hashiha headed towards the place where Iwa Shinobu camp stored supplies. Xingyu, don't you kill this old man? Jiao Xinai asked towards Hashiyu. I think it's better that the five major powers have always maintained a balance, and he is still alive. Hashiha glanced at Inoki and then led Kushina and Mikoto to the place where the supplies were stored. Fire escape, how dragon fire art. Mikoto's hands were sealed, and the fire escape shrouded Iwa Shinobu's materials in a sea of fire, and there was also an explosion charm among the materials, so the explosion sounded. I guess I did a little favor. Mikoto said with a slight smile. This time she attacked the Iwa Shinobi camp, she didn't help at all before, but now she finally helped a little. Congratulations to the master for completing the mission and getting the reward, premium copy card, ×1. The voice of the system sounded in Xingyu's mind, and Xingyu had an extra advanced copy card. System, can the advanced copy card copy the dust? No, the dust is a blood succession elimination, so it can't be copied. Xingyu was a little disappointed when he heard this. The dust is also very powerful, but unfortunately it cannot be copied by the advanced copy card. Since the task is completed, there is no need to stay here. Let's go back. Hashiba uses Hirasaka Huangazumi to open the door of space, enter the gate of space with Kushina and Mikoto, and leave from the Iwa Shinobu camp. As soon as they left, Iwa Shinobu killed them. Looking at the materials that had been destroyed, Iwa Shinobu's eyes were red. Quick, hurry up and find Sachikage-sama. Les immediately shouted. At this moment, Les's heart was a little panicked. Even their materials were destroyed, which meant that his father Inoki was defeated, otherwise he would definitely not let the materials be destroyed. Also, leave some ninjas to extinguish the flames, and save as many materials as they can. After shouting, Les immediately went to find his father, the third generation of Tokage Inoki. Finally found Inoki. At this time Inoki was mentally injured and fell into a coma. Les and Iwa Shinobu were very alarmed and immediately summoned medical ninjas to check. There is also Laozi, who did not break through the ice prison, and was rescued with the help of Iwa Shinobu. Laozi looked at Inoki who was in a coma, sighed, and his expression was somewhat silent. Old Z, where's the vortex star feather? Huang Tu asked Laozi with red eyes. I should have escaped. Laozi sat down and covered the place where he was injured by the kick of the vortex star feather and said. It is said that he escaped, but it is just a better rhetoric. Vortex star feather should have gone by himself, but with an escape, he can save some of his own face. Damn, I'm going to seek revenge on him. Les stood up and rushed out with red eyes, but before he could run far, he was stopped by the other Iwa Shinobu. Even the Earth's shadow they respected was not an opponent, and didn't Les go to find the whirlpool star feather to die. Episode 133, when the Iwa Shinobi camp was in chaos, Hashiyu had already returned. Tsunade, why are you looking at us like that? Seeing Tsunade looking at them strangely, Hashiha couldn't help but ask Tsunade. Brother Xingyu, did you fail your mission? Xiaonan ran over and asked Xingyu. Mission failed? No, we destroyed Iwa Shinobu's supplies. Jiao Xinai said. Although it was not destroyed when Iwa Shinobu was transporting, in the end they still destroyed Iwa Shinobu's materials. How can it be said that the mission failed? Huh? Tsunade was stunned for a moment, then said, now that the entire Konoha camp has spread, your mission has failed. Yes, I also heard some people say bad things about Brother Xingyu, accusing you. It's so hateful. Xiaonan had an angry expression on his face. Is that so? Xingyu suddenly fell into deep thought. He hadn't returned yet, and the news of his mission failure had already spread in the Konoha camp, and if no one had premeditated, Hashiha would definitely not believe it. It seems that someone is spreading rumors. Tsunade was a little angry. No, it's not as simple as spreading rumors. Xingyu shook his head and said. In fact, originally this mission was really going to fail. We ambushed the location given by the intelligence, but the materials transported by IWA Shinobu did not pass there at all, so the intelligence is false. If it was before, Xingyu would think that the intelligence was wrong, but now Xingyu understands that the intelligence was originally a false information. Deliberately gave him a false information, so Xingyu and their mission could not be completed at all. If it weren't for the fact that Xingyu received the task issued by the system, he would definitely not have entered the IWA Shinobi camp to destroy the materials, then the mission failure would have been natural. The intelligence is fake? Tsunade frowned. She noticed that the information that Xingyu said was false, not that the information was wrong. That's right, the intelligence is fake. The third generation of Hokage gave me a false information. Originally it was impossible for me to complete the mission. The purpose should be to hit my reputation. Xingyu analyzed himself. It had been a while since he came to the battlefield, and Hoshiyu knew that his reputation was still quite high among Konoha ninjas, and some ninjas even acted a little respectfully after seeing Hoshiha. Even the 3 generations of Thunder Shadow and Inoki were able to recognize themselves, so they could know how famous Xingyu was now. It is estimated that the third generation of Hokage feels that his reputation has threatened him. Anyway, this matter is definitely inseparable from the 3 generations of Hokage and Tuanzo. And this method, Xingyu felt quite familiar, made Xingyu think of Chimu Shuamao, who was forced to commit suicide. Kiki Shua Shigeru abandons the mission in order to save his companions, resulting in the failure of the very important mission, and is blamed by the villagers of Konoha and the saved companions, and finally can't bear to commit suicide. Now Xingyu is similar, the task of destroying the enemy's material supply. This is a big task that can affect the situation of the war. It's actually okay if the mission fails. After all, everyone knows that this kind of task is difficult to complete. Even if the Hokage himself goes out on the horse, it may not be able to complete it. But the news of the failure of the mission spreads, coupled with the accusations of some well-intentioned people. It is easy to drive the emotions of others, which is also the rhythm. No wonder such an important task. Just give me a task book. According to this kind of mission of attacking and destroying enemy materials, the third generation of Hokage should have personally instructed it, and as a result, he threw him a mission book, which he knew he could not complete. It's a pity that the third generation of Hokage and Danzo should not have imagined that he would break into the IWA Shinobi camp and destroy IWA Shinobu's materials. Therefore, this rhythm is too early, too urgent, did not think about what if he really completed the task, and this in case it was realized. Xingyu, do you think it has something to do with the 3 generations? Tsunade asked, looking at Hoshiba. What do you think? Xingyu asked rhetorically. I also think it has something to do with the 3 generations of old men, but it's definitely indispensable for that guy from Tuanzang. Tsunade gritted his teeth and said angrily. Go to the 3 generations of old men to ask for an explanation. Tsunade stood up and said. No need, it is estimated that it will not be long before the 3 generations of old men will come by themselves, and we don't need to go to him. Hashi had grabbed Tsunade's hand and asked her to sit down. That old man of the 3rd generation usually looks kind, but I didn't expect it to be so bad. Jyoshina said angrily, and then Jyoshina glanced at Tsunade. Jyoshina, what do you think I do? Tsunade's brow furrowed, feeling a bad meaning in the look in Jyoshina's eyes that glanced at her. That old man of the 3rd generation is not a good thing. I remember you are his disciple. Tsunade grabbed Jyoshina. She was not stupid, she could naturally hear what Jyoshina's words meant, which meant that she was not a good thing. Jyoshina, don't forget, you are also my disciple. Did you scold yourself too? Tsunade said viciously. I'm just kidding, Sister Tsunade, can you let me go? Jyoshina looked at Tsunade's vicious expression, and immediately relented, still can't afford to provoke awe. In the case of being caught by Tsunade in this way, Jyoshina is definitely not Tsunade's opponent, and Jyoshina, who does not want to be cleaned up, naturally has to be soft. What is Xingyu going to do? Mikoto asked to Hoshiha. We've already completed the task, we don't need to do anything at all. As for the future, let's talk about it later. It's a big deal to leave Konoha. Xingyu said with a chuckle. It's not that serious, is it? Hearing Hoshiyu say that it was a big deal to leave Konoha, Tsunade couldn't care about cleaning up Jyoshina, and looked at Hoshiyu. There really is, if Konoha can't tolerate me, then naturally I won't stay in Konoha with a dead face. Tsunade, you know, in fact, I don't have deep feelings for Konoha village. Hoshiha looked at Tsunade with a serious expression and no joking look. Forget it, no matter what choice you make in the future, I will support you. Tsunade sighed softly, and finally spoke. Xingyu waited for the arrival of the ape flying sun chop, but in the end, the ape flying sun chop did not wait, which was somewhat unexpected by Star Feather. However, he waited until the Konoha Pot King, Tuanzo. Uzumaki Star Feather, this time I came to ask about Sin. Danzo took a few ninjas and looked at Hoshiyu coldly. Tuanzo, what did you say? After not seeing each other for so long, have you forgotten what gesture you had in front of me before? The Star Feather Eternal Kaleidoscope riding wheel I opened, looking at Tuanzong, bringing unimaginable pressure to Tuanzong. Although Tuanzong was very calm on the surface, looking at the fine sweat that appeared on his forehead, he knew that his heart was not so calm on the surface. Vortex Star Feather, what do you want to do? Tuanzong did not dare to look at Xingyu, afraid of falling into Xingyu's illusion. Everyone else only knew that the ice of Vortex Star Feather was terrible, but Tuanzong really understood the Vortex Star Feather illusion. Tsunade's gaze was a little strange. Danzo was afraid at this time, but thinking of the last time Hashi had cast an illusion, and then she beat Danzo, Tsunade also understood why Danzo was afraid. Episode 134. Soon after, Tuanzo left with a gloomy expression. Hoshiyu was not in the mood to talk nonsense with Danzo, and directly told him that the task of destroying IWA Shinobi's materials was completed, and if he didn't believe it, he could go to the IWA Shinobi camp to check it out himself. By the way, he threatened Tuanzong to come to trouble again, so he directly slaughtered him, regardless of whether Tuanzong took the threat seriously or not. Anyway, Xingyu was serious. Then Xingyu asked Tuanzong to get out, so as not to stay here and pollute his sight. Just let him go so easily? Jiao Shinai saw Tuanzong leave, and his heart was a little unhappy. Jiao Shinai felt that he should be taught a lesson. I don't know why, looking at Tuanzang's face, I have an urge to beat him. Mikoto spoke. Mikoto, I feel the same way you do. Jiao Shinai immediately nodded and said. Okay, let's cook and eat, my stomach is about to be hungry. Xingyu interrupted their conversation and said. After Tuanzong left from Xingyu, he went directly to find the 3 generations of Hokage Ape Flying Sun. Ape Fly, the calculation failed. Uzumaki Star Feather completed the mission. He broke into the IWA Shinobu camp and destroyed the IWA Shinobu supplies. Danzo said to the Ape Flying Sun. What? Ape Fairy frowned. Broke into the IWA Shinobi camp and destroyed IWA Shinobu supplies? Ape Flying Sun Chopper doesn't know if it's true or not, but Ape Flying Sun Chop suspects that it is fake in his heart. You can send someone to investigate, and if it's true, you can now strike at IWA Shinobu. After Tuanzo finished speaking, he left directly. Not long after Danzo left from the Sarutobi Flying Sun, the original rumors about the failure of the Star Feather mission disappeared and directly changed their words. The mission was perfectly completed into a Star Feather, and the previous rumors were all rumors spread by undercover ninjas of the enemy country. All this was naturally done by Tuanzong, and the reason why Tuanzong was so kind was completely because Xingyu threatened Tuanzong, and if he heard any rumors that were unfavorable to him again, he would directly cut him off. Xingyu's threat, Tuanzong was naturally very angry, but in the end, Tuanzong still provoked, and the murderous look of Vortex Star Feather seemed to be serious. Think about the age of Vortex Star Feather, only 12 years old, young and vigorous, can't really rush over and cut him. After all, last time, Vortex Star Feather dared to attack him. The efficiency of Tuanzang is quite high. Hoshiyu had only eaten and learned that the wind in the Konoha camp had changed, and the words that had originally accused him had become praise. Thinking of the last time he asked Tuanzo to help find the whereabouts of Ryota Uchiha, he gave him the information in 3 days, and the efficiency of handling things is indeed high. It seems that if there is anything in the future, it can be handed over to Tuanzo to handle. As for the question of whether Tuanzong agrees or not, this is very simple. Directly threaten Tuanzang's little life to see if he agrees or not. Your reputation seems to have increased again, are you happy? Tsunade asked towards Hashiha. Happy ghost, I'm not interested in any of this. Xingyu pouted and said. Hashiha, are you interested in becoming a Hokage? Tsunade asked Hoshiyu seriously. Ask me what this does? Hashiha looked at Tsunade suspiciously. If you want to become Hokage, maybe I can help you. Tsunade said towards Hashiha. Although the Senju family is now in decline, the relationship that used to be is still there, and if Tsunade supports Hashiba as Hokage, part of Konoha's family will also support Hashiha. Of course, the premise is that Xingyu has this ability. And the ability Star Feather naturally has, to have strength and strength, to have a mind. Tsunade feels that there is absolutely no problem for Star Feather to be a Hokage. Tsunade, have you forgotten that your brother Ropiki's dream is to become Hokage? You better help your brother become Hokage. I have no interest in the so-called Hokage position, and I can't be a qualified Hokage. Xingyu directly refused. He was not half interested in Hokage. He didn't think there was anything in the position of Hokage that attracted him. Hokage's power? This Star Feather does not need. In the heart of the Star Feather, strength is everything. Ropetree's character is actually not suitable for being a Hokage. I think you are very suitable. First of all, it's useless just because you think it's useless. Don't forget that I'm not originally from Konoha village, so I can't be Hokage. Okay, stop talking about it. Hashiha didn't want to continue talking because he didn't think it made sense. Hashiha had never wanted to be a Hokage, and he didn't have too deep feelings for Konoha village. Forget it, then let's not talk about it, but if you change your mind, you can talk to me. You'll never change your mind. Hashiba said towards Tsunade. Don't talk too much, maybe you will change your mind one day. Let's go back to the tent, it's actually raining again. Tsunade looked up at the sky, and tiny raindrops dripped from the sky. Suddenly something happened, I'm going to leave for a while. Hashiha, who was about to go back with Tsunade, looked startled, then used Horasaka to open a spatial door and walked in. Don't say anything, I will definitely clean you up when I turn back. Tsunade said with some annoyance. Hashiha used Huangquan Hirasaka and went directly back to the home of Konoha village, where there was also a person sitting on the ground in a daze. Sitting on the ground was the rope tree, and at this time, the rope tree looked at his body with a confused expression. You're in danger, aren't you? Xingyu's voice made rope tree wake up from his stunned state, and looked at Xingyu stupidly and asked, how do you know that I am in danger? And Xingyu, didn't you go to the battlefield? I'm a god operator, I can pinch and calculate that you are in danger. Xingyu, did you save me? Rope tree remembers that he entered the detonator trap, which exploded, and then he fell into the pitch black hole and finally appeared here. Xingyu glanced at the rope tree, nodded and said, sort of. The transcription seal that Hoshiyu had once engraved in the eyes of the rope tree had been triggered, and the Heavenly Emperor had saved the rope tree's life, and Huangquan Hirasaka took the rope tree to the courtyard of Hoshiyu's house. Because when Hoshiyu engraved and transcribed the seal of the rope tree, he set the spatial coordinates on the other side of Huangquan Hirasaka in this small courtyard, so the rope tree appeared here. How did you do it? Rope tree asked towards Hoshiyu. I can't tell you this, you picked up a life in the rope tree, tell me how you encountered danger. Rope tree's face sank, and he said angrily, it's that bastard Uzumaki, he pushed me into the detonator trap. Xingyu's expression was quite shocked when he heard this, he never thought that he would actually be involved with Uzumaki. What's going on, why is it related to Uzumaki? Xingyu asked suspiciously towards the rope tree. I don't know why he suddenly sneaked up on me and pushed me into a preset detonator trap. Rope tree also doesn't know why Uzumaki killed him, although they usually have some friction, but they won't kill him. Episode 135, Rope Tree, can you tell me specifically? Hoshiyu asked towards the rope tree. Rope tree nodded towards Xingyu, and then said, this time we are going on a mission to secretly escort a batch of wound medicine to the battlefield. Wait, such an important task is entrusted to you? Xingyu interrupted the rope tree and said. Getting injured on the battlefield was almost commonplace, and because of this, medicine was so important, and a task like escorting medicine would be given to them, and Hashiha felt incredible. The ninja who issued us the task said that it was precisely because we were weak and relatively inconspicuous, so the escort was safe. Rope tree said towards Xingyu. So the escort is you, as well as Uzumaki and Hinata, the three of you? That's right, this task was given to the three of us, and then we encountered a ninja attack halfway, and Uzumaki and I stayed to break the circuit and let Hinata leave with medicine first. Oh, stay and break the circuit, you are quite capable. Xingyu glanced at the rope tree, really thinking that his strength was very strong, and he actually dared to stay and break the circuit. This is what Uzumaki suggested. Well, he proposed it, but you didn't refuse either, did you? Even if he doesn't propose, you'll stay and break the circuit, right? It has not been a day or two since Xingyu and Rope Tree have known each other, and they also know his character very well. If he is in danger with his teammates, even if he is in danger, he will definitely let his teammates go. Rope Tree scratched his head, and then continued, the ninja who attacked us are not strong, originally Uzumaki and I repelled them, but in the end I was attacked by Uzumaki. When it comes to being sneaked in, Rope Tree is very angry, and anyone who is stabbed in the back will be angry. It seems to have been premeditated. Xingyu said after listening to the narration of the rope tree. First of all, there must be something wrong with the mission that Rope Tree received, this is likely to be a conspiracy, and the ninja who attacked Rope Tree and their ninja and Uzumaki should be in the same group. It is estimated that it has something to do with Tuanzong. Xingyu suspected that Tuanzang's head was suspicious, and the only suspicious object in Xingyu's heart was Tuanzong. Uzumaki had been staying in Konoha, and it was impossible to have any contact with ninjas from other countries. Uzumaki and those ninjas who attacked Rope Tree were in a gang, then it must be Konoha's ninja who attacked Rope Tree. And the only one who will attack the Rope Tree is Tuanzong, an ape-flying sun chopper will definitely not do such a thing, after all, the identity of the Rope Tree is different from other Thousand Hands people. Whether for Tsunade's sake or his teacher's sake, Sarutobi would not attack the Rope Tree. Tuanzong? Rope Tree couldn't help but widen his eyes when he heard Xingyu mention Tuanzong. I'm 80% sure that this incident is aimed at you, and it was planned by Tuanzong. Xingyu said towards the rope tree. Although the Tuan Tibet is on the battlefield, his subordinates of the root organization in Konoha village are there, and it is easy for Tuanzong to plan something. If Hashiyu's guess is true, then Uzumaki will become a person in the group, but Hashiyu will not have too many surprises in his heart. Just like Vortex Light, who had died under Xingyu's hands, he also defected to Tuanzo, and also revealed to Tuanzo that Xingyu had Uchiha's bloodline. It shouldn't be possible, Danzo is Hokage, why would he attack me? The rope tree is hard to believe. Who knows what Tuanzo thinks, but the rope tree is really worth a lot. Xingyu looked at the rope tree and said. The identity of the rope tree is the grandson of the original Hokage Senjutsu, and it is not impossible if Tuanzo wants to grab the rope tree and study it. Although the old boy of Tuanzong dislikes the Uchiha family, he covets the Sharingan of the Uchiha family, and he is also more ambitious about Mudun, who is a god. What value can I have? Rope tree asked suspiciously towards Xingyu. You are the grandson of the original Hokage Senjutsu, this is your value, by the way, your necklace borrowed me for a while. Xingyu looked at the necklace hanging around the rope tree and said. If you want this, then give it to you. The rope tree was directly plucked and handed to Xingyu. This was given to me by my sister, saying that it was a relic left to me by my grandfather, and wearing it may be able to bless me. Xingyu wanted to complain at this time, wearing this thing not only can't bless you, but also your talisman, whoever gives it to will die, so the protagonist Naruto Uzumaki can withstand it. You stay in the Thousand Hands clan land first, don't go out to do tasks for the time being, and improve your strength. By the way, do you want me to help you with the matter of revenge? Hoshiyu asked towards the rope tree. No need, I'll take revenge myself. Rope tree looked at Xingyu seriously and said. Okay, then I don't care, but you have to improve your strength, otherwise I'm afraid you won't even have the ability to take revenge. Hashiyu, don't underestimate me, that guy from Uzumaki is not my opponent at all. He's just a pawn at most, even if you can beat Uzumaki. Can it be revenge? Well, I won't continue to talk to you anymore, I'm going back to the battlefield. Hoshiyu uses Horasaka to open the door of space, then walks inside and returns to the battlefield on the border of the Land of Fire. Rope tree opened his mouth, a little depressed, he walked too fast, he still had some questions he didn't ask. Rope tree also wanted to ask Xingyu what means he used to save him. However, even if Rope tree asked, Xingyu might not tell him. Using Huangquan to return to the battlefield than Ryasaka, spanning such a distance, the chakra and pupil power consumed will naturally not be less, but Xingyu can still accept it. The pupil power of the eternal kaleidoscope Sharingan, coupled with the huge chakra of the perfect immortal body, was enough for his consumption. Holding the necklace left by the original Hokage in his hand, Xingyu looked at it carefully and sensed the specialness of this necklace. The reason why Hashiha asked Rope Tree for this necklace is mainly because this necklace is the crystallization of chakra between the original Hokage Senjujukuma. This necklace has the power of the original Hokage, and this necklace can be used to suppress the tailed beast. Of course, Xingyu wants to pass this necklace, not to suppress the tailed beast, in front of the eternal kaleidoscope riding wheel eye. There is no difference between the tailed beast and the pet. Xingyu asked this necklace to come over, mainly to study the power of the original Hokage, to be precise, the power of the original Muduan. That's right, Xingyu intends to study Muduan, and the Mudun theory between the Thousand Hand Pillars is definitely more powerful than the eternal kaleidoscope riding wheel eye. Xingyu actually wanted to study Mudun for a long time, but he had no time before, and now that Xingyu has time, of course, he will not let go of learning Muduan. There is no way to learn Mudun by copying, the Thousand Hand Pillar is dead, and I want to copy it from him unless it is to reincarnate the Thousand Hand Pillar to the soil. There is also a Uchiha spot, and the Uchiha spot will definitely be a wooden dun now, but Xingyu does not know where the Uchiha spot is hiding, so he can only rely on his own research. I hope this necklace can provide him with some help. Episode 136, Hashiha put the necklace away and walked back to the tent where he lived, which was actually still with Tsunade. Tsunade said that he wanted to save resources, so he let Hashiha live with her temporarily, but Hashiha did not refuse. This is a good thing for him, how could he refuse? If he really refuses, then he really becomes a big fool. After returning, Hashiha found that the atmosphere was suddenly a little wrong. Kushina, Mikoto, and Konan, while Tsunade was really in a daze, with a sad look on his face. What's wrong with you guys? Xingyu couldn't help but ask them. Joshinai glanced at Xingyu, and then motioned to Xingyu to go out and say. After following Kushina out, Hashiha learned the reason. It turned out that Tsunade now knew that the rope tree was dead. Xingyu laughed when he heard this. Who told you that the rope tree died? The rope tree is not dead, really? Of course it's true, I just met Rope Tree before, and he's doing well now. Xingyu, you shouldn't have seen something unclean, right? Joshinai asked towards Xingyu, a look of fear on his face. What's not clean? The rope tree is really not dead, I left my pupil technique with a transcription seal in his eyes. Xingyu said angrily towards Joshina. So that means the rope tree is really not dead? Of course, you think I'm going to cheat on you. That's great. Kushina ran directly into the tent and shouted at Tsunade. Tsunade, Hashiba said that the rope tree is not dead. Tsunade raised his head and glanced at Kushina, then lowered his head, obviously not believing Kushina's words. Rope tree is really not dead. Tsunade, you should know that the life-saving pupil technique I left in your eyes with the transliteration seal also left in the eyes of rope tree. So the rope tree is not dead. I told you before that something suddenly happened, and I also went back to see the situation of the rope tree. Hashiha walked in and said to Tsunade. Listening to Hoshiyu's words, Tsunade's eyes lit up, and he ran over quite excitedly, grabbed Hoshiyu's arm and asked. Xingyu, is the rope tree really not dead? Of course, you should know this, I borrowed it from the rope tree. Hashiba took out the necklace that Tsunade had given to rope tree, and Tsunade was convinced of Hashiha's words. Forget it, I'd better take you back to see the rope tree, so that you can also feel at ease. Hashiha uses Hwangazumi Hirazaka to open a space door, and then pulls Tsunade to walk in. Wait for us. Joshinai, Mikoto, and Konan ran in together. This is home? Mikoto looked at the familiar courtyard in amazement, but in the blink of an eye, she returned home from the border of the land of fire. That kid from the rope tree should be home, let's go to the place where the rope tree lives. Seeing that the rope tree was not here, Xingyu knew that the rope tree should go back. Coming to the place where the rope tree lived, sure enough, the rope tree went home, and the rope tree was quite surprised after seeing Xingyu and them. Xingyu, didn't you leave? And old sister, why did you come back? Bang! Tsunade punched the rope tree away, and the rope tree fell to the ground in an upside-down green onion position, its head buried in the soil. Seeing this, Xingyu walked over like a turnip, and pulled out the rope tree directly. Sister, what are you doing? I was almost killed by you. Rope tree is full of resentment in his heart. Humph, you just called me sister, do I look very old? Tsunade snorted coldly, but after seeing that the rope tree was really safe and sound, Tsunade's heart was completely relaxed. What's going on? I heard of your death on the battlefield. Tsunade asked as he looked at the rope tree. So Naoki told Tsunade again about his experience, and Tsunade, who learned the truth, was angry to death. That Uzumaki is really a white-eyed wolf. Tsunade said angrily. When he first came to Konoha, he lived in the Senju clan, and the Senju clan took him in, and his grandmother Uzumaki Mito also taught him the art of sealing. In any case, the Thousand Hands clan is somewhat kind to him. However, Uzumaki really has no gratitude for the Senju clan, on the contrary, he still has some hatred in his heart. The reason for this is also a little related to Xingyu, probably because he feels that he and Xingyu are completely two treatments in the Thousand Hands clan. After I saw him, I directly punched him to death. Tsunade said. Sister, don't need to, my hatred will be repaid myself, don't worry about it, sister. Rope tree shook his head at Tsunade and said. Tsunade looked at the rope tree, and the rope tree's expression was very serious. Okay, then you can deal with it yourself, if you can't handle it, you can talk to me, don't be embarrassed, you are my brother. Tsunade nodded and said. By the way, Xingyu, what do you want this necklace for? Tsunade asked suspiciously towards Hashiba. I want to study Mudo and ninjutsu, I don't know if this necklace can give me some help. Xingyu held the necklace left by the original Hokage, and he could feel the rich breath of life contained in this necklace. You want to study Muduan? Tsunade looked at Hashiha in surprise. Yes, Mudan is so powerful, it is estimated that there is no one in the ninja world who does not want to have it. Hashiba nodded towards Tsunade. Then you said earlier, there is still a ninjutsu left by Grandpa in the family, it may be useful to you. Tsunade said towards Hashiha. Wait for me. Tsunade left for a moment and soon returned, returning with a huge scroll in his hand. There are all the wooden ninjutsu left by Grandpa on it, and the clansmen of the Thousand Hands clan have basically seen it, but none of them can awaken the wooden dun, so they can't use it. Tsunade handed the huge scroll to Hashiha, and Hashiba did not refuse and took the scroll. Thank you, Tsunade. Hashiba said towards Tsunade. Are you still polite with me? Tsunade glared at Hashiba a little angrily. If it were really polite, I wouldn't take it. Xingyu opened the scroll, looked at the things recorded on it, temporarily ignored the powerful wooden ninjutsu recorded, and Xingyu looked at the note about Mudan left between the thousand-hand pillars. It is useless to see Mudan ninjutsu, Xingyu does not have the Mudan blood succession limit realm now, even if he sees it, he can't use it. How? Any clues? Tsunade asked towards Hashiha. I've just seen this, how can I have a clue? Xingyu shook his head slightly, it still takes time to study but Xingyu believes that if he cares, there should be no problem in studying the Mudan blood succession limit. Xingyu, don't force yourself too much. Many talented ninjas of our Thousand Hands clan want to awaken the Mudu blood succession limit, but unfortunately none of them can do it. I'm not the same Tsunade, maybe it won't be long before Mudan can reappear in my hands. Hoshiyu smiled slightly at Tsunade, with absolute confidence in his heart. He is the same as the original Hokage, with a perfect immortal body, plus the information about Mudan in his hands now, as well as the chakra crystals left by the original Hokage. Xingyu is 100% sure that he can master Muduan. Episode 137, Uzumakasuke, are you sure Senju Rope Tree is really dead? Danzo looked at Uzumakasuke lightly and asked Uzumakasuke. I pushed him into the trap with my own hands, and he will definitely not survive. Uzumaki replied towards Danzo. And what about the corpse of the Senju Rope Tree? I said I wanted the corpse of the Senju Rope Tree. Danzo asked, staring at Uzumaki. I didn't find the body of the Thousand Hands Rope Tree. It may be that the power of the detonation charm is too great, and the bones that blew him up are gone. Even if there are no bones left, it is impossible not to leave anything behind. Uzumakasuke, are you kidding me? Danzo's gaze became dangerous, and Uzumakasuke, who was stared at by Danzo, was a little scared. At that time, there really wasn't anything left at that time, and the ground was blown out of a deep pit by the detonation charm. Uzumaki quickly explained to Danzo. Tuanzo took a deep look at Uzumakasuke, and then said, don't let this matter reveal the slightest wind, otherwise you will know it yourself. Danzo didn't want to leak a trace of the wind. The Senju Rope Tree died. Tsunade would definitely be angry. If Tsunade found out that it was related to him, Tsunade's temper would definitely kill the door desperately. If it's just Senju Tsunade, Danzo is not afraid, and the key is that there is also a vortex star feather. Thinking of Uzumaki star feather, Tuanzo glanced deeply at Uzumaki, who was also a little hairy by Danzo, and didn't know what Danzo meant. In fact, now Uzumakasuke has regretted it, regretting that he joined Danzo, but it is too late for him to want to quit. Master Tuanzo, I hope you don't forget the agreement we once made. Uzumaki said towards Danzo. The old man will not forget, even if you don't say it, the old man will not forget. Uzumaki joined Danzo's rude organization because Danzo had promised him to help him get his favorite Uzumaki Akiko, as well as killing Uzumaki Hashiwa and Wave Feng Shui men. The hatred between Uzumakasuke and Hoshiyu has been forged since childhood, and with Wave Feng Shui men, the relationship between the two of them is a love rival. Of course, they want to kill Wave Feng Shui men. Danzo then asks Uzumaki to leave. After Uzumakasuke leaves, a ninja of the root organization, Danzo's henchman, appears here. Master Tuanzang, why don't you get rid of him? If it leaks out, Lord Tuanzang will also be in trouble. No, he is still valuable. I still need him to strive to master the Ninetales pillar power. The reason why Danzo didn't kill Uzumakasuke was entirely because Uzumakasuke still had a lot of value. Another reason is that Vortex Star Feather has the Vortex clan's blood succession limit, plus the Uchiha family's blood succession limit. It will have such a powerful strength. And if you put a chakra eye on Uzumaki, what will be the result? Xingyu and they had returned to the battlefield from home at this time. Xingyu's pupil technique is really convenient. Jioshinai had envy in her eyes. Jioshinai, do you want to have it too? Xingyu asked. Jioshinai's eyes instantly lit up when he heard this, and he immediately asked Xingyu, do you have a way for me to have it too? No, I'm just asking, Jioshinai, what are you so excited about? In an instant, Jioshinai was like a frosted eggplant, and snorted unhappily towards Xingyu. There is no way, why do you ask? Let the family be happy. Not long after Hoshiyu and their return, they received news that the 3 generations of Hokage were going to gather Konoha ninjas and raid IWA shinobi tonight. The 3rd generation of Hokage sent ninjas to investigate, and it has been learned that the IWA ninja materials were really destroyed by the Uzumaki Star Feather, and the 3rd generation of Tokei Jinoki was also injured. Now that he learned the news, then the ape flying sun slash naturally would not let it go, and immediately made up his mind to carry out a surprise attack this evening. At this time, Konoha village confronted IWA shinobu, Yun shinobu, San shinobu, and Yu shinobu at the same time, and the pressure was too great, so Sarutobi was ready to open a breakthrough first. Originally, Sarutobi planned to strike at Shinobu first and open a breakthrough from Shinobu's side, but the plan couldn't keep up with the rapid change. To calculate that the Whirlpool Star Feather is not successful, it is not without gains, the loss of materials, the main heartbone 3 generations of Tokei Jinoki is injured, this is a good time to strike at IWA Shinobu. Report the 3 generations of Hokage, I was injured on my last mission, and tonight's raid is inconvenient to participate in. Hashiha said to the ninja who had come to inform. Then, without waiting for him to say anything, he drove him away. We really didn't participate? Kushina and Makoto couldn't help but ask Hashiha. Of course, with that time, I might as well study Muduan. Xingyu nodded and said. The main thing is that Xingyu is unhappy in his heart, but he calculated him once before the ape flying sun, although he did not succeed in calculating, but Xingyu, who was more vindictive, had already remembered it in his heart. What about Tsunade? Kushina asked towards Tsunade. Joshinai, you call me sister, it's not big or small. Tsunade looked at Kushina with a calm face. Cut, who is scared with a calm face, isn't it just a little older than me, so I won't call you sister. Tsunade glared at Joshinai. Now he doesn't have anything to do with Joshinai. If he finds an opportunity, let Joshinai understand why she is called sister. Tonight's raid, I'm definitely going. Tsunade said. Night soon fell, and by 1 o'clock in the evening, the Konoha ninja troops were ready to go, and under the leadership of Sarutobi Hinata, they quickly rushed to the IWA ninja camp. This time, the Konoha ninja can be described as a nest of nests, led by Sarutobi Hinata, Shimura Danzo, Kiki Shigeru, Orochimaru, and Jiraiya. They followed, and most of the ninjas in Konoha's camp were taken over. Sarutobi Hinata had already made up his mind, and this battle made IWA Shinobu surrender and go home. Tsunade did not go with him. Originally Tsunade planned to raid the IWA Shinobi camp together, but in the end, Sarutobi left her to guard the camp. Even if you go to carry out a raid, the camp cannot be lost, and someone must guard it. Under the leadership of Ape Flying Sun, he directly entered the IWA Shinobi camp without engaging in any sneak attacks. Leading more than 3,000 elite ninjas of Konoha, where they still need a sneak attack, even if they fight head-on, they can defeat IWA Shinobu. Easily entered, Ape Flying Sun Chopper suddenly felt that something was wrong, and killed without much resistance. Naruto-sama, something is wrong. Chimu Shuamao said towards the Ape Flying Sun. He also felt that it was too easy to kill in, and IWA Shinobu's resistance could not be so weak. No, I'm afraid this is a trap, we have hit the plan. Ape Flying Sun shouted. After the Ape Flying Sun came back to his senses, he only heard an explosion not far away. It was the sound of the explosion of the detonating charm. Many Konoha ninjas were affected by the detonation charm and were killed by the detonation charm. Don't underestimate the detonation charm. In fact, the body of the ninja is very fragile, and if you are not careful, the upper ninja may also be killed by a small detonation charm. As an explosion sounded, followed by a series of explosions of detonation charms, the face of the Ape Flying Sun Chop became more and more ugly. Episode 138. Well, I'll just say that the Konoha ninja came back to raid our IWA ninja camp. Inoki said with a pale face to the 3 generations of wind shadows, 3 generations of thunder shadows, and Hanzo next to him. Inoki was put down by Hashiha's illusion, and although he came to his senses under the treatment of IWA Shinobu Medical Ninja, he actually needed a long time to recuperate mentally injured, and now he looked sickly pale. It's worthy of the 3rd generation of Tokage. Konoha's movements are all clearly calculated by you. Hanzo glanced at Inoki and felt quite jealous of him. I hope you don't keep your hands, this time you must completely annihilate the Konoha ninja. Inoki said to them. Inoki doesn't want that at this time, there are still people who are cautious and can't contribute. The opportunity is only this once, seize it, otherwise there will be no good opportunity next time. The 3 generations of wind shadows also understood that this opportunity was rare, and naturally they would not keep their hands, and commanded San Shinobu to kill it. The Konoha ninja army rushed into the IWA ninja camp, but at this time, the IWA ninja camp became a cage that imprisoned the Konoha ninja, and the 4 ninja villages had firmly surrounded it. Chimu Shuamao, I will now give you a task, which must be completed. Ape Flying Sun said with a serious expression towards Chimu Shuamao. Naruto-sama, please instruct. Chimu Shuamao immediately answered. Go all out and tell Tsunade the news of our siege, and let Tsunade ask Uzumaki Hashiha to make a move. Ape Flying Sun knew the previous calculation, probably seen by Vortex Star Feather, although Vortex Star Feather is not old, but he is very smart. If he had ordered Vortex Star Feather to make a move, Vortex Star Feather might not have moved, otherwise he would not have refused to participate in the plan for this raid before. So I can only play the emotional card and let Tsunade come to ask Uzumaki Star Feather to make a move, and Sarutobi believes that Tsunade can definitely ask Uzumaki Star Feather. Yes. Chimu Shuamao did not say anything and accepted the task. Big Snake Pill, Jiraiya, you two come to cover Chimu Shuamao to break out. Ape Fei-ri said to his 2 disciples. Even Kiki Shigeru would not be able to break through the encirclement of many ninjas if there was no one to cover. Although Kiki Shuamao's strength is also strong, he can't ignore the attacks of other ninjas, and he can't charge one person among the 10,000 armies. And the other party also has a strong person, in case it is stopped, it will be more difficult for others to break out. Orochimaru and Jiraiya didn't say anything either, using ninjutsu to help Kiki Shuamao open a path. The array of 10,000 serpents. The Big Snake Pill used his own rather disgusting ninjutsu, channeling countless snakes and flying out of the Big Snake Pill's mouth. Countless snakes flocked in groups, and even when they saw themselves, they couldn't help but stay away. This guy Orochimaru's ninjutsu is really getting more and more perverted, and I don't know where I learned it. Zlai couldn't help but say with disgust. However, I also know that now is not the time to complain about the Great Snake Pill ninjutsu, seize the time to help Kiki Shuamao break through, and now the situation of the Konoha ninja force is very critical. Outside, there are ninjas from 4 villages surrounding them, and there are countless traps laid out inside, making Konoha ninjas miserable. Fire escape, Great Flame Bomb. Train chakra into oil, and then spit out the oil while using the fire, the overwhelming fire, towards the IWA shinobu who blocked them. Seeing the attack of the fire done, those rock ninja immediately united to use the earth done and resisted Jiraiya's fire ninjutsu. Chimu Shuamao did not waste the opportunity created by Zlai and the Great Snake Pill, and when they were in a panic, they used the Thunder Instantaneous Body to quickly break out. The so-called Thunder Instantaneous Body is to use Lei Dun chakra to stimulate your own cells, so that you can burst out the fastest in a short time. The speed is indeed fast, the whole person seems to turn into lightning, but it also has a great burden on itself, which will damage itself. This is the instantaneous technique developed by Chimu Shuamao himself, and it will not be used at non-critical moments, but now is the critical moment. Kiki Shuamao successfully broke out, and then quickly went straight to the Konoha camp. It didn't take long for Chimu Shuamao to return to the Konoha camp, and the reason why Ape Flying Sun Chopper sent Chimu Shuamao to break through the siege was because Chimu Shuamao was the fastest. Kiki Shigeru immediately approached Tsunade and told Tsunade about Konoha's current critical situation. Tsunade became serious, did not talk nonsense, and immediately went to find Xingyu. Fortunately, Xingyu didn't find a place to go out and cultivate, otherwise Tsunade wouldn't know where to find Xingyu. Tsunade, you are in such a hurry, is there something wrong with me? Hashiba asked towards Tsunade. Xingyu has an emergency, the raiding force led by the 3 generations of old men has been calculated, and now it is surrounded by the ninjas of the 4 ninja villages, and now only you can rescue them. Hit the mark? Xingyu looked surprised. Originally, Xingyu also felt that this raid was stable, but he didn't expect to be put up by Inoki. Xingyu, this is not the time to think so much. Tsunade knew that Hashiha had a grudge against the 3 generations of Hokage, but at this time, it was really a critical moment for Konoha survival. It seems that it is still up to me to save Konoha at the critical time. Hoshiyu did not refuse, not to mention that it related to his god-level copy card, even for Tsunade's request, Hoshiyu would not ignore it. I'll go now. I'll go with you. Tsunade saw that Hoshiyu was about to leave, and immediately said. Don't, what if you leave, what if Inoki sends someone to attack the camp? I can solve it, and you don't open your mouths. Hashiha blocked Kushina and Mikoto, who were going to follow him, by the way. Okay, Xingyu, you have to pay attention to safety, if it really doesn't work, you must protect yourself first, don't be stubborn. Tsunade said seriously towards Hashiha. Yes, Xingyu, if you are not an opponent, you must run, if something happens to you, I will definitely not let you go. Juzanai shouted. Joshinai, what stupid thing are you saying, what is wrong? Mikoto glared angrily at Joshinai, causing Joshina to cover her mouth. Brother Xingyu, you must come back safely. Xiaonan looked at Xingyu and said. Don't worry, just those smelly sweet potatoes, rotten tomatoes, I stand and let them beat, they can't move a single hair of mine. Well, this is a bit of a blow, but Xingyu is not a fool, how can he stand and let them fight? Xingyu and Chimu Shuamao left together, but the speed of Chimu Shuamao on the road was a little slow. His speed is relative to other ninjas, compared to Xingyu's words, looking at Xingyu who can no longer see the shadow, Chimu Shuamao silently uses the teleportation technique to rush alone, inexplicably a little desolate. It's really fenced inside. Xingyu rushed to the battlefield, and even in the darkness, he could roughly see the situation clearly. The fire is soaring into the sky, although it is night, but it is actually quite bright under the reflection of the firelight, and Xingyu's eyes are good, even if you don't open the chakra eye, you can see far away. Episode 139, since you're here, let's say hello to them first. Hoshiyu threw a spiral shuriken over, instantly killing dozens of enemy ninjas. Sneak attack, someone sneak attack behind the back. It was the more unfortunate shinobu who was attacked, and some ninjas from the Sand Ninja village shouted loudly. Soon the news reached the ears of the 3 generations of Kazekage, and according to their description, it seemed to be the ninjutsu of Uzumaki Star Feather. Umi Laozong, you command the ninja to continue to surround and kill the Konoha ninja. The 3 generations of Kazekage said to Umi Laozong, and then quickly rushed to the rear. At this time, Hai Laozong did not care to remind the 3 generations of Kazekage to pay attention to safety, and directed the Sand Ninja to attack the Konoha ninja desperately. The 3 generations of Wind Shadows rushed to the rear while sending a signal. This signal was to remind the other shadows. Of course, he would not be stupid to face the Vortex Star Feather alone, and at this time, he would have to call for help. In the other direction, Inoki, the 3 generations of Thunder Shadow, and Hanzo immediately rushed towards the side of the 3 generations of Wind Shadows. This is what they discussed before: if they encounter the Vortex Star Feather, then send a signal for help and deal with the Vortex Star Feather together. In fact, if they didn't understand the strength of the Star Feather, the 3 generations of Thunder Shadow and Inoki would definitely disdain to do this, but now that they understood the strength of the Whirlpool Star Feather, they felt that this was the safest way. 3 generations of Wind Shadow, long time no see. Xingyu looked at the 3 generations of Wind Shadows that appeared in front of him, and at the same time there was also a spiral shuriken in Xingyu's hand that was not thrown out. Since 3 generations of Wind Shadows have appeared, then reward 3 generations of Wind Shadows. Looking at the spiral shuriken that greeted him, the 3 generations of Wind Shadows immediately used Sand Iron Defense to block the attack of this spiral shuriken. System, using an advanced copy card, replicates the magnetic escape of 3 generations of Wind Shadows. The magnetic escape of the 3 generations of Wind Shadow is actually quite good, and it is worth Xingyu to consume a high-level copy card to copy over. Xingyu's advanced copy card disappeared, but it also got the magnetic escape of 3 generations of Wind Shadows. Although Xingyu doesn't know any magnetic ninjutsu yet, there are not 3 generations of Wind Shadow teachers here. Opening the Eternal Kaleidoscope Riding Wheel Eye, Star Feather stared at the 3 generations of Wind Shadow. As long as the 3 generations of Wind Shadow released magnetic ninjutsu, Star Feather could be copied and used. The ability to copy ninjutsu with the Sharingan cannot replicate the blood succession limit ninjutsu, but that's because without this blood succession boundary, even if it is copied, it cannot be used. And Xingyu now has the magnetic escape blood succession limit, and naturally, he can copy the magnetic escape ninjutsu. Magnetic escape, Sand Iron Time Rain. The 3 generations of Wind Shadows sealed their hands and summoned sand iron like ocean waves out of thin air, and then the sand iron formed countless fine needles and hit Xingyu. It is difficult to dodge the thin needles in the sky, and the power of this move on the battlefield will definitely not be small. However, for Xingyu, it is equivalent to a child's trick, without the slightest threat. An ice wall blocked in front of Xingyu, and all attacks could not break through the ice wall's guard. 3 generations of Wind Shadow, I haven't seen you for a long time, you still only have this means, can't you come up with some new tricks? Xingyu asked lightly towards the 3 generations of Wind Shadows. Humph, I hope you can withstand other means. The 3 generations of Wind Shadow snorted coldly. Immediately after a sound of breaking the air, 3 generations of Thunder Shadows appeared, and as soon as they appeared, they sneaked up on Xingyu. Using the Thunder Chakra mode, the speed that burst out was comparable to space ninjutsu, and his left hand clenched into a fist and punched Xingyu. Bang! Xingyu's body shattered into ice cubes, and the expression of the 3 generations of Thunder Shadow was a little ugly. Sure enough, it's not so simple to want to sneak up on you. Since I know that you still do that, if you have learned to sneak attack in the 3rd generation of Thunder Shadow, I thought you would fight me openly. Xingyu stood on a tree not far away and said lightly. The ice avatar that was hit by the 3 generations of Thunder Shadows just now was the ice avatar cast by Xingyu, and Xingyu's body could not withstand the attack. Since they are all here, why should they hide and hide, so it is not interesting. Hoshiyu's gaze glanced into the shadows, and he saw Inoki and Hanzo walking out. Inoki, you really dare to appear in front of me now, but you really surprised me. Xingyu looked at Inoki, originally thinking that Inoki had fallen into his illusion, and his spirit was traumatized, and he could not wake up for 10 days and a half months. It's just that I didn't expect Inoki's will to be so strong, and now it seems that there is no problem with everything except for the lack of blood on his face. On the surface, there seemed to be no problem, but in fact, only Inoki himself knew his situation, and his mind now seemed to explode every moment. Gee, being besieged by the 4 shadows, I don't know if this is my glory. Hashiha looked at Inoki, the 3 generations of Kazekage, the 3rd generation of Thunder Shadow, and the 4 of them. The 4 powerhouses at the peak of the shadow level, especially the 3 generations of Thunder Shadows, are estimated to be able to fight in the face of the super shadow level by relying on the Thunder Chakra mode. Hands on. Inoki gulped. Feeling the dizziness in his head getting stronger and stronger, Inoki didn't know how long he could last, and it was best for him to fight quickly. Inoki rushed over and used the rock fist technique towards Xingyu, and the huge rock fist hit Xingyu. Then the 3 generations of Thunder Shadow struck Star Feather from the other side, and Hanzo also carried the scythe in his hand towards Star Feather. Only 3 generations of Wind Shadows are left without making a move. This is not that the 3 generations of Wind Shadows want to paddle, but now it is really not suitable for the 3 generations of Wind Shadows to shoot. The moves of the 3 generations of Wind Shadows are basically ninjutsu with a large range, which may affect Inoki and them, and when the time comes, they may not help, and they may also help. You smelly sweet potatoes, rotten tomatoes, even if they are united, are all rubbish. Xingyu punched out the air cannon, and before Inoki could get close to Star Feather, he was blasted out by the air cannon. spiral pills. Dodged the fist of the third generation of Thunder Shadow, and then the spiral pill smashed on the face of the third generation of Thunder Shadow, smashing the third generation of Thunder Shadow out. But the spiral pill really couldn't cause effective injuries to the third generation of Thunder Shadow, at most made him embarrassed. Magnetic escape, sand iron time rain. After the spiral pill smashed the 3 generations of Thunder Shadows, the star feather formed the same seal as the previous 3 generations of Wind Shadows, and countless sand iron formed thin needles similar to Senben, and hit Hanzo. Hanzo, who originally wanted to use the scythe in his hand to slash at Hashiha, had to stop and swing the scythe to resist the fine needles of sand. How could you possibly be reluctant? The eyes of the third generation of Wind Shadow widened, and they were shocked by the magnetic escape used by Xingyu. Is that hard? Xingyu asked lightly towards the 3 generations of Wind Shadows, and successfully pretended to force in front of the 3 generations of Wind Shadows. After the 3 generations of Thunder Shadow were stunned for a moment, their hearts calmed down, and even his Thunder Chakra mode, Vortex Star Feather Will, is not so surprised now. Inoki's expression is the most ugly. Will it be this guy of Vortex Star Feather, even his dust? In fact, Xingyu wanted to copy the dust. After all, compared to the magnetic escape, the dust is more powerful than I don't know much. Inoki has fewer chakras, and the chakras that can't be consumed by using dust, but Xingyu doesn't have this concern at all. With a perfect immortal body, he could not lack chakra without anything. Episode 140, 3 Generations of Wind Shadows. You find a way to restrain the Vortex Star Feather, I will solve him. Inoki glanced at the 3 generations of Wind Shadows and said seriously. At this time, the 3 generations of Wind Shadows came back to their senses, and for the time being, they did not entangle themselves in why the Vortex Star Feather was also magnetic, and first found a way to solve the Vortex Star Feather. Well, I hope Inoki you can do it. Magnetic cage. The third generation of Wind Shadow used sand iron to create a cage and put Hoshiyu in the cage. Then the 3 generations of Wind Shadow, the third generation of Thunder Shadow, and Hanzo looked at Inoki together, wanting to see what means Inoki could have, and what confidence he had to solve the Vortex Star Feather. The art of dust escape origin stripping. I used Uzumaki Star Feather to use dust escape before, and although I don't know why it failed, this time Inoki believes that he can succeed. The white cube enchantment shrouded the sand iron cage, and then instantly disintegrated the entire sand iron cage. Even the sand and iron cage can be decomposed, and I don't believe that the Vortex Star Feather can survive. 3 generations of Wind Shadows, be careful behind your back. Hanzo looked at the back of the 3 generations of Wind Shadows and shrank his pupils, and immediately reminded the 3 generations of Wind Shadows. In fact, without the reminder of Hanzo, the 3 generations of Wind Shadows can feel the crisis, and their bodies immediately shift to the left, and then the 3 generations of Wind Shadows are pierced through the body by a knife. You're too careless, you don't even pay attention behind you, so you can easily be killed. Xingyu said lightly. How did you appear behind me? Looking at the blade that came out in front of him, the 3 generations of Wind Shadows asked Xingyu with some difficulty. It is clear that he was trapped in a sand iron cage before, and was beaten by an unknown ninjutsu of the 3 generations of Tokaige, and there was no dust. Does this matter? Xingyu pulled out the Kusanagi sword that pierced into the body of the 3rd generation of Wind Shadow and asked flatly. With the ultimate spatial ninjutsu, what in this world can trap him? Unless he was hit by the ultimate sealing technique of the 6 Tao Earth Explosion Heavenly Star, no trick could limit him. The 3rd generation of Wind Shadow fell to the ground, although it deviated from the key position at a critical moment, but the current situation of the 3rd generation Wind Shadow was still quite injured. One fell. Xingyu glanced at the 3 generations of Wind Shadow, and did not kill the 3 generations of Wind Shadow, but looked at the 3 generations of Thunder Shadow, Inoki, and Hanzo, and the 3 of them. Let's solve them next. Xingyu still has business to do. Although the strongest combat power of the 4 ninja villages is here to deal with him, this does not mean that the Konoha ninja forces can deal with the ninjas of the other 4 ninja villages. The overwhelming advantage in quantity, even if the ape flying sun slashes them, there is nothing they can do, in front of the number. In fact, the shadow-level powerhouse is quite powerless. And in addition to Inoki and their shadows, there are no strong people among the ninjas of the 4 shinobi village. So if Hashiha doesn't hurry up to the rescue, Konoha won't say it's completely finished this time, but it's not far from it. The art of Tuduin super light and heavy rock. Inoki uses the ultra light and heavy rock technique to greatly reduce the weight of his body, greatly increase his speed, and can fly freely in the air. Think you're safe flying in the air? Hoshiyu looked at Inoki in the air, and using the figure of Huangquan Hirasaka, he instantly disappeared, and then appeared above Inoki. Give me down, I don't like people watching me from above. Xingyu kicked Inoki at the waist with one foot, and a cracking sound sounded, and Inoki couldn't help but let out a scream. My waist. Inoki fell from the air holding his battered waist, smashing a deep pit on the ground, and Inoki fainted directly. It's just a kick, it won't be so fragile. Xingyu looked at Inoki who fainted, and felt that the 3 generations of Thunder Shadow were more resistant. Just thinking of the 3 generations of Thunder Shadows, these 3 generations of Thunder Shadows attacked towards Xingyu, using their strongest Hell Spurt. This is the strongest spear of the 3 generations of Thunder Shadow, and no one has been able to block this move so far. Because the fingers of his right hand were still injured in the last fight with Vortex Star Feather, this time the 3rd generation of Thunder Shadow used the middle finger of his left hand to attack. Xingyu looked at the 3 generations of Thunder Shadow, instantly entered the Thunder Chakra mode, and then used the same out of Hell Spur book. Although I haven't seen the 3 generations of Thunder Shadow use it, the principle of Hell Spur 1 pass is actually the same as that of 4 books, but the piercing ability is stronger. This time, Xingyu will give it a try, use the strongest spear to collide with the strongest spear, and see whose spear will break in the end. Xingyu is fighting that he has the pupil technique of the Heavenly Imperial Destiny, which can turn back time, which is equivalent to regret medicine, so he dares to play like this. If he was really injured, it would be a big deal to use the Heavenly Imperial Destiny once, not to mention that Xingyu had absolute confidence in himself. The 2 fingers collided together, and in an instant, the body of the 3 generations of Thunder Shadows flew out, flying out for hundreds of meters. At this time, the left middle finger of the 3rd generation of Lei Ying had been completely shattered, and a blood hole had been poked out of the heart mouth. The 3 generations of Lei Ying who fell to the ground sweated like rain because of the pain, and gritted their teeth to survive this deadly pain. 10 fingers connected to the heart, and 1 finger of the 3 generations of Lei Ying was directly crushed together with the bones. The most fatal thing is the blood hole in the heart position, which was poked out by Xingyu's finger, and it felt like it was about to reach the heart, and the blood flowed out of the wound as if it didn't want money. 3 generations of Thunder Shadow, it seems that this hell spurt of yours is just that. Xingyu had one hand behind his back, this hand was the one that collided with the 3 generations of Thunder Shadow, and at this time, Xingyu's middle finger was swollen like a carrot. The pain naturally hurts, but even in this case, Xingyu can't lose his compulsion, and his face does not change color, as if he is not injured. Secretly using medical ninjutsu palm cactus, coupled with his own perfect cactus, soon the pain disappeared and the swelling disappeared. This kind of injury is not a big injury, with the recovery ability of the perfect immortal body of the Star Feather, plus the palm cactus Star Feather can recover in a moment, and there is no use of the pupil technique of the Heavenly Imperial Destiny. This time, Xingyu really regretted it in his heart. If he used the immortal mode, and then used the Thunder Chakra mode, he would definitely not be injured. The 3 generations of Thunder Shadow don't have any combat power now, and now you're left Hanzo. Hoshiyu looked at Hanzo lightly. Inoki fainted in pain, the 3rd generation of Thunder Shadow lost the ability to continue fighting, and the 3rd generation of Wind Shadow was half kneeling on the ground, dealing with his pierced wound. Now Hanzo is left with combat effectiveness. Seeing Xingyu's gaze staring over, Hanzo took a deep breath and suppressed the thought of escaping in his heart. Facing Hoshiyu, Hanzo is preparing for a battle. How can he say that he is also known as a ninja demigod, and it will be humiliating if he runs away in panic in the face of the enemy. If this is passed on, Hanzo will lose his face, and more importantly, he may not be able to run away or even die faster.